Oh,
You're right.
no.
You're right.
Ah,
Start it over, Trey. Here. My
Okay.
bad. I realized what was going on. Sorry, Carolyn. Sorry, everybody. We're gonna fix that.
all right.
It
No
should be
worries.
fixed now. Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks, Credence. I'm sorry. Oh, my heart. Every
Oh,
time I do that, I'm so mad at myself. It was a mic thing. Okay, we're
yeah,
good.
it's all good. So,
Sandra. I say hi to Sandra.
Oh yeah.
She's on.
uh,
Okay. Go ahead,
starting
Trey.
back at the So, welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism by having a podcast with passionate guests woven with creative ilk. Hello, my name is Trey, and you can find me at OrpheTunes on most social media platforms. I am joined by my co host, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi. And you can find me online at Emily Kramer Art. Kramer with a
Uh,
K.
We are so excited to be talking to an incredible guest this evening. I don't want to deny her anymore. Emily, would you introduce our lovely guest this evening?
Of course I would. I'm super excited to dive in today. We have a fascinating bronze sculptor on. You might know her work from her Lucille Ball sculpture. She's done work of Fred, or I'm sorry,
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. I'm so sorry, Frank Sinatra. She's got there's all kinds, and I can't wait to show you. And we're gonna do that tonight. So welcome, Carolyn Palmer. I'm so sorry.
Yay!
It's funny. Don't worry.
I did it twice. It's so
That's
horrible.
all right. That's all right.
What's wrong? Okay, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really wonderful. Thanks. I was just saying there should be more shows like this out there. You guys are doing a beautiful service to humanity. It's a lovely show.
Thank you so much. That's amazing to hear. Trey's grinning and up. That's yeah, that's so it's so wonderful to hear that, especially from someone like you. We really do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
We're gonna smile the rest of the night now. So I want to dive in by showing our audience a little bit of what you do so that we can kind of give them an overview because I bet a lot of people don't know or realize what you do and I want to a lot sometimes that's better showing them. So we'll do that quick here. Let me pull up. I've got a little slideshow and we can kind of talk about it a little bit as we go, but we'll just sort of breeze through it a little bit. So here we go. So this first one is you with Frank Sinatra.
Yes, very good. There's Frank. He's that particular photo was installation day, and we had just put him up there on his perch, and I actually made that lamppost because
Oh,
yeah, the city was having issues with leaning him against a lamppost, and so I said, "Don't worry, I'll just make a lamppost and lean him against it." So
Oh my
there he
there
is
it
with
is.
the backdrop of Manhattan. He's there in Hoboken, New Jersey, where he was born and raised up to a certain age and then left. But so that was on his birthday, December 12th of 2 years ago.
Okay, cool. So if next time you're in Manhattan or New Jersey, you can go
Yeah.
see that for real in person.
Yes.
So then we have you. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip past that. Ta-da! It's Carolyn. And then this is Pope Benedict, right?
Yes, he just recently passed on, and that was for St. Patrick's Cathedral. I have four of my popes permanently installed in St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, Manhattan. And there's two sculptures. They used to be the living popes until he passed. On the left side, it's Pope Francis, Pope Benedict the 16th, and then on the other side are the two saints, Pope John Paul the second and Pope Paul the sixth. And all four of them visited St. Patrick's Cathedral, and that's how they invited me or commissioned me to make all four in honor of the ones that visited the cathedral.
Very cool. The detail on that chain is pretty amazing. He's wearing a chain with a cross on it, and
Each cross I really researched, because if you research each pope, you'll see that they wear one cross more than the others. It's their papal cross. So each one has
Oh,
very strong detail. Oh, tell us about, someone's asking, tell us about the reaction when they were presented, installed. Oh, thank you. One thing that I always enjoy is being a fly on the wall. I never say, "Oh, I'm the sculptor," because no one would believe a little blonde would do these things. So
oh,
no, they just don't. I mean, it's funny. Actually, I tried it once and said, "Hey, I did those." Yeah, 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 right. But it's kind of a reaction, because everyone thinks a sculptor should be a strong, although person. But my hands are very strong. I actually am getting them injected lately because of the so much work on them. But
hmm.
I received a very, very nice reaction to them. It was lovely. People taking photos and pictures, and actually, that's in the documentary that's coming out of my work, showing the people really enjoying them. So thank you for asking,
Yeah.
Sandra.
We'll talk about that documentary here soon too.
Yeah.
And this is one of your most famous pieces, if not the most, right? This is Lucille Ball.
Oh, Lucille Ball. Yeah, that was, I don't know if you know how that came about. Lucy was first sculpted by a fella who, um, the people weren't happy with the product. They weren't, and Lucy is so loved by so many people. The poor guy was given actual death threats. It's ridiculous
Oh
how
no.
people, yeah, yeah. People respond so much to Lucille Ball because she is so loved, and she brought such happiness to so many people, that when they saw this sculpture of her, if you Google it, it's called the Scary Lucy. And so there was a fella in Jamestown, New York, who put on Facebook, "We must take that statue down, and we must hire a new sculptor to do it." So it went viral. And so hundreds and hundreds, I guess thousands of people um, responded to this fella, Tom Mandalora, and then it went into a national competition. So out of
Wow.
68 sculptors, I won this one, and then it made international news. It went all over. So the people were very happy with this. I'm happy with her, but I wish I had more time. They were under the gun to have it by her birthday on August 6th. So when you're under the gun, I don't have time to have a fresh eye. Like sometimes I'll work and work and work, and then you get away from something. I'm very pleased with many angles, but then there's certain angles I go, I would have done that different if I had more time. But just the perfectionism of a sculptor.
Of course. Yeah. Relatable.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do because I want to be able to talk about a lot of this, and
Sure.
for our audio listeners, I want to keep the balance well here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to save all the questions that happened during this, and we'll answer them after. How about that? So
Okay.
we'll just keep going through the pictures here, and then you can go ahead and ask questions in the chat, everybody, but we'll just get to them after the slideshow. How about that? Just Okay, so this is you working on the Pope.
A marble, Pope Francis. The other four that are in St. Patrick's Cathedral are all bronzes. How this came about was when Pope Francis came for his visit to America in 2015. There was a group of people that wanted me to sculpt him and have it presented to him at the residence in New York City where he was staying. So I hurried. There's no way I could get over to Rome and make, this marble, because there's a lot of work that goes into a marble. So what I did was I actually used a mold, and a lot of people do it this way. I made a mold of my Pope Francis, and then poured marble into the mold. This what you're looking at though is an actual real carving marble. But to do the fast track way, I had a marble. A cast marble. And he walked in the door and he blessed it and he said, "Where is the sculptor?" And I don't know if you recall, at that time, there was a major issue with security in New York City. I mean, everything was closed down, and I think the only people that ever were allowed in the papal residence was Pope Francis's cook.
Oh.
So, but anyway, I didn't personally meet him, but he made so many wonderful comments, and my everyone signed and wrote all a documentation of how he blessed it with a benediction, and so then here, the way this came about was there was I can't remember his name, but he was a higher up in the church, and he said, "This is the face of Pope Francis." And I said, "Well, let's bring it to the Vatican." And he said, "Get it in marble, and we'll do that." Well, now I have a marble waiting in my other studio, and I'm on to other things right now. But that's a little story about this one. But what an experience that was over there in Carrara, Italy. I mean, that was,
Wow.
it was so amazing.
The one thing I notice about this picture that to me is also so extremely cool is the background.
Yes.
There are these gigantic sculptures behind you in the background, and that is, I don't know, that's so cool. There's
Yes. Yes. Those are other, artists that created their work there in this amazing studio right there in Carrara. They would pick out the blocks of marble and bring them in, and then other artisans and even Michelangelo. I mean, he had to have a lot of help and assistance when you make a David that huge within 2 years. But the master sculptor does all the details, and we actually show where everything has to be knocked off, and we use the tools, and we do a lot of it. But in this case, I had to have some assistance banging it for me, or my arms would have never made it.
sure. Okay, let's. Oh, these are the I'm gonna
That's
zoom.
that photo is in my studio like 2 days before they were installed in St. Patrick's Cathedral. That was them sitting right in the. I know I have a friend who says, "Carolyn, you look like a realist, a realtor selling."
That is
And I
a
said,
cool photo though.
"If you ever see me when I'm working, trust me, I look like a real artist." Oh, this here was a lovely night. I was chosen to be a judge for a Frank Sinatra singer, and it was a national competition. And this fellow, Kerry D'Angelo, was amazing, and he was the winner. So there we are in
Okay.
front of, in front of Frank.
That's great.
Yeah.
With the lantern lit up. And this is the back of Lucille Ball.
Yeah. I did a lot of work for the back, and most people just look at her face, but I did a lot of work to give her that kind of peacock pulling of her dress sideways.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
This is
Oh,
you.
that was, I didn't know what photo you wanted for the.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, and
I,
this is Lucy in the winter?
yeah, this fella is amazing, and I keep writing him, and he's a wonderful truck driver from upstate New York, and he stops and he takes these photos of my work and then shows me, and I keep saying, "Please, I'll pay you. Go take a bunch of them." Oh, I'll get to it, but he's sent some lovely photos because he really enjoys the sculpture, and he has captured her in all 4 seasons.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
So fun.
What a
yeah.
cool fan to have.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
The one thing that I'm consistently struck by is just how, honestly, how lifelike these sculptures are and how much attention to detail there is. Um, it's like what my eye goes to is how realistic her dress looks with her pulling up the skirt and like it legitimately looks like she's just pulling up the side of her skirt a little bit. Um, it's just incredible.
Thank you, Trey. And it's interesting how I did that. I hire models, and I have tons of photos. I mean, I give a documentary on myself, a PowerPoint presentation on how I go about to create, a piece like this. And I had a lovely model. She was around Lucy's height, and I had her in a dress I bought on Amazon, and I had her pull it sideways, and I took a lot of photos, and then worked from that.
Yeah, it's very realistic. Trey and I both do costuming and some sewing, so that,
Yeah.
I mean, for us, that looks like if you didn't know it was bronze, it would look like fabric.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm glad that the foundry that I work with, they're they deal with some of the top pieces in the world, and they said one thing that they enjoy about my work, they can tell it's handmade, because today there's a lot of people that just go and get a dress and then they do some sort of, I don't know what they do for with it, but it's something that they can do that then they can slap on material or something. But they said they can tell mine is not done that way.
Huh.
So I guess it's not too perfect. But I can see a dress made out of bronze foil coming. That's funny.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so here's another of Frank Sinatra. A different
Yeah. In the
angle.
back. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. What I use to make it flow out in the back is metal. Like, I have a whole bunch of metal being pulled out, and I bent it and shaped it and then um, put it on. But there's a
That's
story
cool.
behind that lamp also. I asked them to please leave it on 24/7. It doesn't cost much. It's like, maybe $2 a year. But the day we were installing it, the sculpture, it was a foggy day and it just looked so surreal to see that light, right? And it's an orange light, and Frank Sinatra's favorite color is orange. So I thought this was all during the pandemic. People were scared. It was the beginning. And I thought, wow, it's almost like he's holding up a torch, and he called orange his happy color. So, and his daughter loved that I incorporated that.
Yeah. Orange is a happy color.
Yes, that was Frank's favorite. Oh, that's
And this
his.
is you working on it.
Yes, yes. The foundry that I used for this particular one, again during the pandemic, they had smaller facilities, and I usually don't use smaller facilities, but it was a wonderful foundry, and you had to have them in many parts because they didn't have the large vats that the other one had. So this one had, I don't usually have the head disconnected. I'll work on it disconnected sometimes because I like to pull the head. It's kind of hard what I'm saying if you don't understand. But um, yeah, you have to weld all the pieces back together. No sculpture that you see out there was ever made in one metal body piece. All
Hmm.
of them have been cast in separate sections and then welded back together.
Interesting. I
Hmm.
imagine it's all very heavy as well.
Yes, very heavy.
This is you working on Lucille's dress on the.
Yes, 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 yes.
So you have
Remember?
a support there kind of holding up.
Yeah, and if you want to hear a little bit of a funny story, the fella there's this fella that always comes to our house, and he goes down and he turns on the water and the different things for the house, and you know come the spring and things like that. But he came in and I said, I need your help with holding this up. Next thing you know, he was helping me for about an hour with it. So that was sweet. I needed some strength, somebody to help me with that.
Yeah.
Man.
Sorry, Trey, were you about to say something?
No,
Okay.
just exclamation of this is incredible. Um,
And this is Stuart Weitzman.
Yes, Stuart, wonderful man, wonderful. I shouldn't say, but I don't buy his expensive shoes. I hope he never sees this video. He has the most beautiful shoes in the world, and he has stores in over 73 countries. And actually, he's an amazing, humble human being. And I'm two of these are already installed. I've been commissioned to make three, and the first two, one of them is near the Liberty Bell in Independence Hall, and it's called the National Museum of American Jewish History,
mhm.
and the other one is in the University of Penn, the Ivy League University of Penn, at the Weitzman School of Design. It's been named after him. So when you open the door, there he is. He's greeting everyone. And the third one I'm so excited about is going in the New York Historical Society, which is quite an honor. My Roosevelts are there right now, but Stuart, is going to be greeting everyone in a new section called A Museum Within a Museum, and it's going to be a collection of Stuart Weitzman's shoes. He has a collection not of his own personal shoes, but shoes that he has found, and it's a really interesting collection. He had a show there once that I went to, but so his daughter loves this. She says I've captured his soul, his spirit.
Aw.
He's a more advanced. He's going to live to 110, but he's older now, and the photos that I'm making him or portraying him at is a little bit younger, but
Okay.
I'm just happy when someone's happy with.
Right. Well, Stuart, if you are listening or watching, two things.
Yes.
We would love for you to gift Carolyn a pair of your shoes, and also come be on the show. We'd love to chat with you.
He is a wonderful man. He's a wonderful person. He's incredible. I mean, for everything that he has done in the world, he's just a regular guy. He's not a bragger. And he's just a good, sensitive, nice man.
And that's what comes across in your sculpture as well. And that's really neat.
You feel that in him. People say that when they see him. They say, "I want to get to know him." And I wanted to portray him like confident, because he's confident, with his arms, and he's strong.
Yeah.
But he's got a beautiful, charismatic smile, and yeah.
And this is Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yes, that's Eleanor. And what's very interesting about Eleanor was, when I was first asked to do Eleanor and Franklin, they asked me to make sculptures that the blind could touch, because FDR, he had a lot of, I guess, I'm not sure what the programs are there, but it's for disabled people, and one of them are, the blind. So this helped me to become, I feel, a better sculptor, because when I was working on these pieces, I would close my eyes thinking, well, the blind's going to feel this. So it just made me open up to a whole nother dimension in feeling, and actually feeling, the physicality of the person.
And what an interesting request to have something like a piece of art that other people can touch. Normally they say, please don't touch the art, and instead they encouraged others to be able to touch that.
Exactly. I mean, it's such a gift, and it's such a unique beauty. And actually, the fellow who's doing my documentary, Jim Burns, he just brought a friend of mine who's legally blind, and they have him touching all the sculptures and, using his glass. I mean, he has a really strong glass, because he has a genetic disease where they think he's going to eventually not be able to see anything. But so that's in the documentary, of him touching and feeling the sculptures. And then he talks about his experience.
That is amazing. I love that that's something that made you think outside of your normal process too.
Yeah.
It becomes a bigger challenge, and something I love that it also now can be appreciated by more people.
Yes. Here's
another of Lucille.
Yep.
And then I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's there were so many magazines and articles, and it was just very humbling that a lot of people photographed and came to my studio, and
And there is you with the Lucille, so we can kind of see the size as well.
Yeah, I was doing the Bettina outside here in my studio.
Cool.
I have to say, from this angle, I don't know, she just kind of looks a little sassy, just kind of like doing a walk down the runway almost, with that kind of stance. I don't know. It was
that was my intention. It's interesting, and that's why I say when I go to Celeron and I watch the fans walking around her, or when I watch them walking up to her, very few walk around, and I'm like, hey, go around the back, see the side view, you know?
And this is the picture of the popes on display at St. Patrick's.
Oh, yes, yes, that's St. Patrick's. And they're right at the opening when you walk off Fifth Avenue. At night, you can see them actually lit up. But this is the right vestibule. But St. Patrick's has the front door, and then there's two side doors, and the two side doors when you walk in, because the middle door opens up and there's no art there. But these are right there when you walk in.
Cool.
Oh, that's me getting my doctorate. I was honored with a doctorate of humane letters for my contribution to the arts from St. Peter's University. And they're the ones, I don't know if everyone recalls, if there's any sports fans, remember there was an upset in the whole collegiate world because they made it to I think it was the Final Four. Yeah, they did. And it was quite amazing.
That is very cool.
That's so cute.
This is Mario Cuomo.
Yes, I was asked by the National Italian American Foundation to make awards of him. So there was a large sculpture, and then I made mini awards that were given out to people at different events. Cipriani's, we were there, and his whole family has some. There was a fellow who recently died. He had a radio station. Shaughnessy was the last name. Maybe you guys know. Mm-hmm. But he wrote a book on Mario, and he really loved these sculptures. So he purchased quite a few for me.
Oh, there's another shot of that. St.
Yep, that's the left side. Yeah. Oh, there's Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. Look at those ruffles.
Oh my gosh.
You know those ruffles? I'll never forget. They just, when I say they appeared, because there I was in my studio. I had all this clay, and I'm thinking, how am I going to do each and little tiny thing? And all of a sudden, I just said, well, let me roll out the clay. Let me roll it out. And I rolled it out, and then I just went to it. The ruffles, all you have to do is roll out clay, and you just kind of make it into like ribbons, and you just stick it in. It was the easiest part of the whole sculpture. And here I worried about it and worried about it.
Wow. Yeah, that's really impressive, though. Huh.
I think there's a long story behind this one, very long story. I mean, this is how my sculpture career started, and that's how the documentary begins, because I was a portrait painter. And there was a fellow in upstate New York who, the name of Tom Greenwood, who owned a huge center called the Jefferson Center. And in the lobby, he had the Declaration of Independence and a lot of paraphernalia from Jefferson, because it was on Jefferson Street and Jefferson Center, and he had offices. And so he said to me, Carolyn, I've seen your paintings, and I'd like you to do a painting of my son and his son Parker, who's has autism. And I said, well, yeah, of course. I said, I'll come over, I'll take pictures, we'll have to have him still and everything. And he said, while you're at it, he said, please find me a person who can make a Thomas Jefferson for my lobby. And I said, oh my God, I can do it. I can do it. And he's in the documentary talking about this. And he said, you're a painter. You're not a sculptor. I said, Tom, I can sculpt in sand. I can sculpt. I know it. I did it as a little girl. I was just so in love with making people in the sand and making, and he was like, huh? And I said, you don't have to give me a penny. I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to buy all the clay. I'm going to get all my armatures. I'm going to build this piece. If you don't like it, nothing. And everyone in upstate New York, this is where I was living at the time, they were coming to my home and they were going, how are you doing this? And that was the beginning of my career. And Tom was like, this is amazing. First, I went to him with a little head because he was like, I can't even believe this. I went to him with a little head, and he talks about it in the documentary. So he said it's kind of cool. So that was the beginning of my career right there.
That is amazing. Oh, sorry, Trey.
Oh, we were going to say the exact same thing.
I'm gonna zoom in real
Like-
quick.
I mean, when I was in college, the professors used to say, because I received a degree in art education to teach art. So I had to take a little bit of each studio course. And when I took the one sculpture course, it was like 2 semesters. They all said, you've been doing this, you've been doing this. And I said, no. I said, just in sand. But they were like, you got to follow sculpture. And I really didn't until later in life, until this opportunity from Tom Greenwood. So,
Yeah. There's some things like that though, because I can relate to that to some degree. There are times when you kind of just know that you have that ability in you. You just haven't maybe done it yet in the capacity you've.
exactly.
Yeah. That I can relate to it with a couple things, but one odd one is water skiing.
Ah, no way.
Yeah, I had never water skied in my life, and we had this. My grandpa had a boat, and we went out on the water, and nobody could get up out of the water. Like my dad was out there, and my uncle, and no one could like get up on top. And I was like, well,
Oh.
let me try. I feel like I could just feel my way through it. Let me try. I think I understand this enough to just get out there and do it, and I did.
No
And
way.
It's
Now
not
that-
art, but yeah.
Oh, it was really, I can't do it. That's great. I mean, that's impressive because you had to be very coordinated and know your body really well. You have to have it be kind of like an engineer, knowing the water and how they're pulling you and everything.
I mean, I'll be honest, it was 100% feeling.
Yeah.
I could just feel the force of the water and like feeling when the right time was to kind of like straighten my legs a little more. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a calm, comforting moment. I was pretty scared, but like I was like, no, I think I can do this, and I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, I think with art, there are times when you have a mind to, oh, I can do this. Like the first time I made a corset, it was that same way too. Trey probably can relate to some degree as well.
The
Yeah.
first time you made, what was it? You
A
made?
corset, like
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those aren't easy, nor are they. They're not a quick thing to make.
That's funny.
But yeah, if you can wrap your head around it, I think. Yeah. So I
Aw.
get it. I think that's absolutely true.
Someone is asking, has the sculpture work improved the painting you do? I gave up painting, although just a little bit I do it, but not, but thank you for asking. That's a very good question because I bet it would improve my painting if I really started doing sculptures again. I mean, doing paintings, because when you work in 3D, you really know it so well, so you probably would know the light better. Although painting, you're dealing with color and yeah. But anyway, thank you for that question.
So this next one, and we're almost done here, is the Wright brothers.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was asked to do this by a fellow who has an airport in the Sanford, Orlando, right in that area for the private planes that came in. He was a private pilot for Yanni. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yes.
Yeah. And so his name is Jim Watkins, and he had asked me to make these for his airport. So we're there in the lobby, and I think the airport, he sold it. So I'm not sure if he gave it to the Sanford Orlando airport. I've got to get down there and look for him. But so.
Are these separate, or is this one piece?
Oh, they're separate.
Okay. They're just
And then-
photographed together. Okay.
Yeah, I have a very good friend who she said, I want to bring these to the Smithsonian. And I don't even mind talking about this now because it was a dream of a lifetime. I mean, they said they wanted them. The senior curator was like, we're going to bring them right here with their plane. So talk about, a career where you have the highs and the lows. But I mean, I'm very grateful for all the work that I do have. And, of course, you never get everything you set out to do, but back and forth letters, we're going to do it. There was a certain issue that they had that, is something private for them. So I don't want to discuss that, but it was back and forth for 3.5 years. So I have all the documentation and everything. And then he retired, and now there's like, well, we have to. There's an issue there, and it's very political, and it's something that, maybe they'll go in though one day. Maybe they will. It's
Crossing
something
fingers.
with another government. That's all I'm going to give you a hint on, because it's happened before in life where, um, actually, it's happened in the White House when people are given gifts, and it's given by another 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 country or something, and then let's continue. I don't want to discuss it
Okay,
because
that's
Okay.
fine.
we're on public here, but
Totally understand. Yeah, that's the last one. That sounds kind of that's all very fascinating. And we have a couple questions from the audience that happened during this. I want to make sure that we
oh yeah, I'm
clear
sorry.
up. No, don't apologize. I saved them. So one thing was if these are available on your website to view, and yeah, absolutely. I wanted to bring that up to everyone. Is there are these and more on Carolyn's website and social media. So I suggest you go follow her and check out those. One question was, do you have, and this is one I wanted to ask too, do you have anything that's like, I wish I could do this kind of dream projects?
I wish I could do this. Let me think. I mean, I wish I could do this. Um, there were dream projects that came on my plate on some, but um, I wish I could do this. Well, I would love to make very large pieces. In fact, the same friend of mine who brought them to the Smithsonian, and they were so interested. She wants to bring two huge Wright brothers to Dubai and have large pieces. And I have now the foundry that can make huge pieces and can enlarge mine. So I think
Wow.
it'd be kind of cool to see like large pieces,
Yeah.
but
And then one other one was, did I miss it? No, I think we actually got them all. I think that's it. Because we answered the others. So.
yes, someone had a similar experience in the culinary world. Oh, they just knew that they were good at it. Good for you. That's how do you
Oh, and
get committed?
yeah, how do you get commissions?
You know, every commission I have ever had, other than they find me, like the popes in St. Patrick's. What happened there was actually for Frank Sinatra. I was on covers of magazines. Like there's a lot of magazines that they put me on covers and newspapers, and then people found me through that.
Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. That's how we
Yeah.
find people too sometimes.
How did you find me?
We
In a,
found you through Sandra,
oh,
and I'm not sure. Sandra can maybe answer that better. She told me, I believe, and I don't remember.
oh,
Um,
thank you, Sandra. It was sweet.
we always have feelers out for good people to be on the show, and oh, she said she saw you on the Today Show.
Today's show. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah. Boy, that was an experience. They had to come in and give me a COVID test. I was so sick, and I said, "Can we do it another day?" You can't do that with. It was Good Morning
Oh,
America. No, I think it was with Joe Fryer. Is he the Good Morning America or Today's Show? Um,
I don't know. She said it might have been Good Morning America. I
yeah, I
don't
think
know
it
because I don't watch TV in the morning.
I don't either. But he was wonderful, Joe Fryer. It's just that I didn't feel well that day. I was
Oh
like,
no.
No.
That's too bad, especially such a like a pinnacle moment like that. You don't want to
exactly.
be. Yeah.
No,
Can't help it
no.
though.
And it was the day that Frank was actually being taken and prepared to go into Hoboken. So that had to be around December. It was during the pandemic. Very, very
Oh
difficult.
sure.
So It was coming from all angles, but Joe did great. Joe just, he kept me calm, even though I was like,
I, I can relate. I
yeah.
can relate.
Are you calm right now, Trey?
No! No, I really am. Um, so for you, if there was someone that you could sculpt or you could choose to sculpt, either one, who would you choose and why?
That's a good question.
I always enjoy, calling forth the person whenever I'm working on them. So I'd have to say it'd have to be somebody pretty deep or spiritual. I don't know. I always thought the Dalai Lama, I've never done a kind of Asian looking person, but I would love to have the presence of the person and capture something like that. I did say once when I was giving a talk, it was so funny. The nuns asked me this, and I was giving a talk on the popes, and I was at this huge place with all these nuns, and I said, Lady Gaga. The whole place got quiet. Lady Gaga. And I'm thinking, well, she's close to the Dalai Lama, and she's she's out there, but she's so like, I don't know, she's a very deep person. Like when you see her talk and her facial expressions, you want to capture somebody, with that
Sure.
that look. Yeah.
Well, and, I mean, maybe it sounds, I don't know, embarrassing or not not a standard answer for being an answer in front of nuns, but if that's the person that speaks to you to make art, then
Yeah.
that's who it is. Like,
Hmm.
Yeah, and she was a Catholic girl. She grew up a Catholic girl. I mean, I don't follow a lot of what she believes in, but I think she's a good soul. I mean, from what I've seen.
right.
All right.
And Sandra, we're gonna get to process here in a minute. So we'll get to your question for sure.
I think that's a new life goal that was just unlocked. Stand in front of a room full of nuns, and when they ask you, who do you want to sculpt, I just say, Lady Gaga.
Just
Yeah, yeah.
Lady Gaga.
Or actually, Leonard Cohen. I love his
Yes.
songs. He is one of the greatest poets of all time. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
dark, because I mean, I do the popes and I do all these spiritual people and things like that. But he was a deep soul. I guess I like deep souls. I like people that have, you know, um, oh gosh, I guess a depth, and
Yeah.
yeah, his poetry is amazing.
I agree.
Emily,
Hmm?
I'm going to ask the same of you, just randomly. If you had the ability to sculpt anybody, who would you choose and why?
Are you asking
You're
Emily?
asking me who I would sculpt?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted
That's-
to clarify. It's funny you say that because I was going to bring this up when we talked about the process, but we had Gwen Krantz on the podcast last week, and she runs the art lab here in town, and the art lab is like a gym membership for art, and you can go in there and have a membership, and then you can just go play with clay and sculpt, and you can go weave fabric, and you can paint and stained glass and all kinds of things, and it's amazing. And so I am part of the art lab, and I went in last week and I bought a block of clay and I dove in.
Wow.
Ooh.
So, yeah, and I was, thank you. I've never done, I mean, since I was a kid playing with Play Doh, I have not touched anything like it. So,
That's amazing. So what did you do? What did you make?
part of it is a secret because it's a gift and I don't want to give that away. But the
Oh,
other part is, I started creating from the game Zelda. There is a statue in the game Zelda that is notable, and a friend and I were playing that, and we were talking about it, and so I decided to create that. And I'm not done. I created the base and kind of set it aside to start drawing a little bit, and then I'll work on it again. And
nice.
it wasn't as bad as bad. That's really a poor way to say it. I meant it wasn't as challenging as I thought it was, and not knowing like how easy it was, like getting used to how clay acts and reacts to
Yeah.
your finger versus a tool versus
Oh,
everything is very interesting. And that's kind of just playing around with shape and like adding water and things like that. It helps me kind of get to know clay. You have to kind of get to know clay. I've
you
learned. Yeah.
do. You do.
So
Yeah, sure.
so
I
it's
know.
oh
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Well, to answer Trey's question, who would I
Yeah.
sculpt? None that never occurred to me, but I did get to. I don't know who would I. Let me think about it. I will come up with the answer before the end of the show.
Who would
Jason
you
Momoa.
Jason,
ask? Who?
Oh, sorry. I was trying to answer Emily. Was gonna agree with Archer in our chat and say she's gonna say Jason Momoa.
no, I don't want. I don't want to. I'm sorry, Carolyn. What did you say?
No. I'm watching. He said that she's going to say Jason Momoa. That's what it
No,
says.
I'm not gonna say Jason Momoa.
I want to know who Trey would sculpt.
That's a good question.
That is a really good question.
Let's sculpt each other.
You know what? I actually like this plan.
We come up with the wildest ideas on this show.
And we'll put it in a castle, and then on the day that we're all showing up to this photo shoot, we'll have these just like nice little sculptures.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And then if we do it right, we can make clothes for them. Like, because we do sewing.
That would be cool.
I love this.
That's a great idea.
Okay, we have sidetracked, but I love this so much. I love this so much. I really want to hear about the process that you go through, Carolyn.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh gosh, I know. Someone asked on here, when creating, do you take a picture, build a clay, then create the bronze? Can you describe it? Okay. So when creating, like say Lucille Ball, I went on CBS and purchased
Here.
a lot of I purchased a lot of, her shows. And one of the most difficult things was not watching the show and listening to it. So I had to turn the sound down because it was making me laugh so much. It was hard for me to actually get into the visuals. So what I did was I blew up photos of her. I had the sound off and I have huge cameras in here, or I'm sorry, used monitors. And so you get into the mood of who she is, her personality, and then what you do, every sculptor does, is we build what's called an armature. And an armature is actually like, think of a skeleton of a body. You build it out of metals, and then once you have it in metals, my process, and you can do it many different ways, but my process is foam. I just build up foam. And then once the foam's up, I carve the foam down because this makes it much lighter. And then I start using the French clays. I use La Botouche French clay, which is very expensive. And that's why I like a lot of filler underneath, because really what you're making is a model so that you can make a mold from the model. So no one goes and like takes metal and, builds a person who looks like a person. You can do abstract in metals and, do all that. But so anyway, so you make your original piece out of clay, or if someone likes to do wax, you have a medium where you make your piece. And then once you make your piece, you create a mold from that piece. So you start painting on silicone rubber, which is very flexible. And then you put another mold on it called a mother mold. The reason they call it a mother mold is it supports the rubber underneath. And to give you just a quick, because it's a long process, you get this mold on, you break it open, and then you have to make a duplicate hollow wax figure. This is an ancient process that goes back 6,000 years.
Wow.
And so once I have the hollow process, in fact, I have my third Stuart right over here. He's hollow in wax. And then once I'm all done with the wax and the hollow, I bring it to the foundry. And the foundry is where they melt the molten bronze. And, I very few sculptors have their own foundries.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so once you have the wax, there's a long process that goes into it. Do we have any of those photos, Emily, where we had the PowerPoint?
Yeah, we've got the one up now is the first one.
Oh, okay. Well,
In the-
that's Lucy's walking on her star. That's what I'm seeing. There we go.
Yeah.
So that is the mold. And you'll see the orange part is the silicone rubber. And then you'll see on the bottom of her dress on the right side, that's the plaster.
Okay.
And then those shims that I'm putting in there are like to break open the parting lines. So once all of the piece is covered, it looks like a big white snowman. And once that it's a big white snowman, you start breaking it open. And then, is there another slide? Because I think I gave a lot of slides to show the process. Okay, there you go.
You can
So
just
then-
tell me to go to the next one. And I will.
Yeah. So this one I used a fiberglass. Fiberglass is much lighter than real plaster. Plaster can get so heavy. So okay, next one, and then okay. So this is pulling off now the molds, and now we have to pour wax in there, and this is how you create the wax. And this with Lucy, I took it off to the foundry to do it.
Okay.
Sometimes in here, but
You can see the layers here. That's cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Lucy's dress, and there is the beginning of the hollow wax duplicate. So you put the wax in there, you can see Lucy's head,
Yeah.
and then and then once the wax is there, I am working on the wax. I'm fine tuning things and the eyelashes. Her eyelashes were a challenge because if you do the whole process, if once you see the whole process, you'll understand why. But you have to have the molten bronze go right into where those eyelashes were, and if they're too thin, they're just going to break off, and it's not. Kids could just go and pull on it, and it'll be gone. So I had to make her eyelash very, very thick. And when I see Lucy in Celeron, and people have taken pictures of her with the zenith of the sun above her head, you know how if your eyelashes are real long, it covers her eyes. So I always cry when I see those photos. I'm like, no, don't take pictures of her at the zenith of the sun. But I had to make the eyelashes big so nobody could just break them off.
That makes sense. That was one question I had too, was what kind of detail is too small? But this is an example of that, huh?
Uh-huh. Yes. Yep. Oh, so this is the gating and the engineering part, the lost wax process. They strategically place all these sprues in vents to, you see all that all of those vents are where the molten bronze is going to melt out.
Okay.
You'll see the next picture.
Okay.
This gets put into big vats.
Okay.
If you can zoom in on her.
Yeah.
See, she's hollow, and now they're going to dip her up and down into these vats.
Okay.
And then she's going to have another shell covering her. So this is the second shell. Oh, that's after the shell was broken off. But anyway,
okay.
The shell will be inside and outside. I always tell everybody, it's like, think of a chocolate Easter bunny that's hollow, and you dip it in, and so there's a very hard shell after this process on the outside and the inside. And then and then they knock the shell off, and then there you can see remnants of the ceramic shell. And then I didn't show you the picture of them power blasting off. They have to really get off every little nook and cranny, because that's bronze, what you see right there.
Right.
That's bronze with remnants of the shell. And you see before and after the sandblasting.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
That's quite a transformation. And you can see one of the holes here on the side of her head.
Yes, and that has to be all patched back.
Okay.
Yep. See, she's hollow. That's actual bronze that it still has the shell. I mean, once that's actually bead blasted, they call it, and shined up, she'll be like almost gold looking.
Okay. Fascinating.
It is. It's a long. Oh, there I am with a selfie doing the patina. Actually, I'm working on, the reason I'm all covered up is because I was working on the eyelashes and the metals. Some, I'll go in and at the foundry, I'll work right on the metals, and you don't want that in your eye.
Oh, of course not.
No.
So you mentioned the step before this would be putting her together, right? The pieces.
Yes, yes. They welded her all back together again. Humpty Dumpty.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at this
Yeah.
point, she is bronze but hollow.
Yeah, all bronzes are hollow. When you see bronzes in the streets and everything, they're hollow.
Interesting. I never thought about it that way. I guess I never thought about it
Mhm.
at all. But
Yeah, you
it,
can't cast a solid bronze in a large piece because, first of all, bronze actually shrinks in different areas, so you'll have a lot of warpage and everything. So there is a process that you have to go through like this, and it's been perfected actually almost 6,000 years ago. So
wow.
That's so interesting.
That's the
Cool.
last picture. Do you and then you put a patina on it.
yeah, the patina is very interesting because you use a torch, and bronze actually is porous. So if you're doing this like in humidity, it's the worst. You have to get all the, it'll sweat. Like you heat up the metal as much as you can, and then you have different chemicals that you put onto the metal, and it oxidizes it and turns it into different colors. So you also have to make sure the temperature outside is just right because, early on, I learned the hard way by saying, oh, I can patina over this. But what happens if you patina over bronze and it didn't sweat everything out, if it's a humid day, you'll get a film in
Oh.
between two layers, and then it looks foggy.
So is that because it almost looks like Lucille's hair is redder? Is that a
Yeah,
patina thing?
yes, yeah, that's the patina. You can use different kinds of chemicals that will actually give you reddish tones and different things like that.
I was gonna zoom in so people could see that it is redder. That is cool. In stained glass, there's patinas as well for the solder. And
Oh,
whoops, I meant to click that.
yeah.
And so I get I have an idea of that, but what you do is a little different with heating it up. Interesting. And I suppose then that means you have to be careful about patinaing it all in the same day, probably with the same humidity and the same conditions.
Yes, you want to work very quickly in the very first piece because and also if you don't cover it, it turns, it spots. Like the sun will oxidize it fairly quickly. If it's humid, it oxidizes fairly quickly. So you want to get that first, when it's out fresh, you want to get that first layer on, and then it's pretty much, protected.
Interesting.
You mentioned earlier that you went back to the Lucille statue and you liked some things from certain angles and you said, "Oh, I would have done this differently." How often does that sense of, "Oh, I could have done this here or I could have done this here," how often does that kind of come up for you? And how do you reconcile that with saying done is better than perfect?
Well, I am trying my hardest because I look at everything and say, I could have done this, I could have done that. And you're exactly right. Done is perfect because people don't know what you had before. Like sometimes I'll be working on a piece and I'll go, oh my gosh, I can do better. I can do a little better. And then I get to a place where I can't get back what I had. And then I'm like, oh no, but nobody knows what I actually had before. And then some people say, oh no, it's better now, but it can drive you crazy. And as Da Vinci said, a piece of art is never finished; it's only abandoned, and that's how I feel. Because you just kind of let go. You go, I gotta let it go. And I actually do like deadlines because it forces me to like get it done. But then I wish I had more time to have that fresh eye because I think every artist has to get away for a while and then you come back and you see, with a new eye.
For sure.
Yeah, for our audience, I've blurred my background just a little bit, but there is a red shirt that's back here that I'm particularly proud of. It's the first Renaissance shirt that I've ever made for myself, and there are so many things that I love about it. But please, anybody who sees me at the Carolina Ren Fest, do not ask me about this shirt because I will start to point out, oh, do you see this flaw? Do you see this flaw? Do you see this flaw? Uh,
Exactly. Why do we do that?
No one's going to see or know about those flaws until you do. So you're
Yep.
better off not doing it.
Emily and Trey, I just need to plug in something. Can you talk amongst
Oh,
yourselves
yeah.
while
Yeah,
Use
do
my-
what you need to do. Sure.
Absolutely.
I need to plug this in because I see it's saying low battery. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Credence said, so cool. It looks like it was created in one piece as is. Oh, the Lucille Ball. Yeah, I thought so too because, and I had no idea none of this was done all in one piece either. I have questions about clay now for her, but I had no idea the process was that involved.
Same. Like I love the sandblasted pictures, the comparison of with all that stuff on there, and then you get so detailed to the core process of it all.
Yeah, and a lot of different mediums with the clay and wax and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh my gosh. And I thought fabric was complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like I can make a muslin of something and then I just copy it and make it out of the regular fabric and
I,
that's it. I mean, I'm just simplifying it down to like a few words, but
I'm sure. It, I think that's the one thing that we can respect is like Archer with cooking or us with sewing and Carolyn with her sculpting process or even with the creation of writing a novel. There's so many intricacies that are embedded within that not many people get to see every now and then. And when you're actually able to see the process, I think it makes it, or I can't speak for everybody, but it definitely makes me appreciate the final product that gets delivered.
yeah.
And I go, wow, that is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously making it look easy. I mean, not that I ever believed what she did was easy, but wow. I also questioned whether or not I could sculpt a human. Like we talked about who we would sculpt, and I sat there and went, "You mean create like someone's face that would be recognizable as another human?" I don't know.
And I mean, okay, but I will challenge you. I will challenge you to create something. And do not give me that
I
face,
don't
Emily.
want that.
Fine, then make the face out of fabric.
That was a super frown. Oh, out of fabric. That's worse.
I got us plugged in. I'm
All right.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Oh, thank gosh. I should have. Wait a second. It says your Mac will soon sleep. Hold on. Because I have the extension cord. Hold on.
Okay.
Just hold on. I'm so sorry about
That's
this.
okay. If
That's okay.
I don't know if you can hear us, but if something happens, you can always click the link again to come back.
Okay.
It's exactly the same link.
Credence said PBS had a great video about Remington's bronzes that went into detail about how he made them. Oh, I didn't know that.
That's cool.
That is something to add.
Yeah. I can sculpt and mash potatoes. That's funny because I almost brought that up at the beginning and then we had to start over.
Perfect. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Hey.
Josh said he had a professor who liked to say a deadline is a great way to focus your mind. And we had talked about that with
That's so true.
your Yeah, and
That is so true.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do have um, a difficult time with when the muse shows. It's so much fun, when you're just in it. And I always say it's like what um, actually when you come from your heart, everything works. Like if you come from ego or mind, or you're saying, I've got to have it like this, I think it should be like this, and you're putting your own thoughts into what you think it should be, it's like it doesn't just come across, and you just got to open up and be a channel to allow the creativity to come through. And Chagall said that. He said, if you come from the heart, everything works. He said, if you come from your head, nothing.
Yep. And Josh said, ah, yes, the muse and his, her, their mercurial gifts.
Yes. Yeah, there's it's, I don't know, to be sensitive can be a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yes. Go ahead, Trey. You were about to say something.
Nope.
This is the mic to my headset, and I've been kind of playing with it down here where you can't see. So, and then I just waved it at you. I'm sorry. I had a question, and it was about like you with Thomas Jefferson being like kind of the beginning. You said that you started with like a smaller version and then made the bigger version, which to me sounds like a massive undertaking for a beginning. And my question was because you felt confident in sculpting out of clay something, but you had to learn the bronze process. Can you talk about how that occurred?
Sure. I mean, when you say you had to learn I know everyone is blown away by this. I mean, I'm blown away by somebody who could sit at a piano and just go do 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 do, right? So, I mean, for me to actually make the sculptures I feel in 3D, like you feel in water, skiing. But to make a bronze, all I did was I said, so wait a second, I just make a clay figure. I mean, I'm just filled with all my clay friends in here. And once you make the clay figure, you do a mold. So you research, you get, I talk to people at the foundry. They say, oh, no problem. We'll bring people in and teach you to do molds, and we'll get the mold done. So they come in, they do the molds, and once you do the molds, you do the lost wax. And the foundry, I mean, I'm definitely a micromanager, but thank God, I think they still love me. They're always, yay, we hug when I get there, but I oversee a lot of my stuff a little too much, like when they're working on it, because when you're doing people, you have to have everything. Bless you. Did you sneeze, Trey? Bless you. I thought he sneezed.
I
But
thought so
anyway,
too.
Oh, sorry.
no, you're crying? No. But so anyway, so I go into the foundry a lot, and I just want to make sure that every little piece is the way I made my original, because Stuart Weitzman's shoes. I don't want Stuart listening to this, but just now when they did the casting, and they're like, "Don't worry." I mean, this is the top foundry, but I'm noticing some, you know, the casting didn't come out quite perfect, and they said, "No, it's just the shoe." But if that happened anywhere near the face, I would say no, reject, reject, reject. But it's just the heel of the shoe. The casting didn't come out quite exact, and you just fill it. They can just fill it,
Oh, okay.
but with all kind of metal and everything. And so yeah, so I mean, the part, I guess, that's the big undertaking that people find unique, watching me just build this thing and all of a sudden putting the clay on it and making the person. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the foundry, they basically turn the piece into, um, yeah, every sculptor uses a foundry, and they create their art from the mold, because the mold holds all of the, um, all the detail.
Right.
The mold has all the detail. So as long as I make sure my molds are done perfect, um, we'll be okay, unless it's a bad casting.
It's fascinating too because for something you said was a 60 or 6,000 year old method, is something we're still doing today. So there's this foundry that still does this today, and
Yeah.
so and it's bronze sculpting can't be that common, I'm assuming.
You know, um, it's not so common, but there are quite a few, sculptors that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And the only thing is, a lot of the foundries closed down because it's a lot of work. It's very expensive. I mean, if I were ever to tell you what one of these pieces cost alone just to cast, and yeah, so there's not a lot of sculptors, but they're out there. But there's not a lot of foundries.
Yeah.
That's yeah. But the one I go to, oh my goodness, it's like you see Meryl Streep's husband there. He's a sculptor,
Oh.
and
Oh.
yeah, yeah, they met in Yale, and he does beautiful, very contemporary work. And that's another thing, this foundry, they'll do contemporary work, and I say, yeah, well, just not it's gorgeous contemporary, but when you're dealing with faces, if one little eyebrow looks off, you can change a person's entire personality. And that's why I do all my patinas, because you get a little dark in the wrong way, you can make someone look angry. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sandra in our chat was asking, what is your most challenging piece?
Hmm. My most challenging that I've ever made, my most challenging. Let me think. Hmm. Well, I mean, certain pieces I find come up easier than others, but I would say most of them I have a little bit of a challenge, and some more challenging, like Pope Benedict. For some reason, I had him older, then I had him younger, and then I'm like, I just couldn't feel him anymore. So I had to keep looking at his photos, looking at different things. But I definitely got that little curl in his hair, so he had the best hair. So yeah, sometimes there's 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 challenges, but again, it's when other things are on my mind, or if I'm trying too hard. You got to be in the right mood. I always say, like, some days I feel like I want to train the muse, but the muse has to be there. And
Yeah.
you're both artists.
Right. Sure. Do you do like all commissions, or have you done work for just you?
I know I don't. I just do commissions. In fact,
Okay.
I just spoke with a very dear friend of mine today, and I remember back in the day when I said to him, we were in Wegmans store, and I said, Dan, I want to sculpt. I want to sculpt, but I just don't want to do it in vain and just sit there and, like, not bring any happiness to anybody, or not, like, you know, and so I said, please, let's just say a prayer that I can do a sculpture that somebody loves. And boy, did our prayer ever get answered.
I would say.
Yeah. So sometimes I think everybody, whatever dream you have, or desire or passion, it's a good idea to put it out there, and wish upon a star. Say a little prayer and have somebody believe in you. Have somebody else believe in you with you.
Or you could donate to our email. Please sponsor us. We love you at themodrom.com.
That would help that would help with our dreams, yes.
So what is that? What do you mean sponsor? What is that?
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead, Trey. You explain.
so one of our first episodes, we made a joke that we were like when we're first getting started, and our email that we came up with was, please sponsor us. We love you at themodrom.com, and send us thank you notes, send us love notes, send us, I don't know, some money, $5 every now and then. Um, so,
It's shameless.
How does it work? Is people, are they doing it?
We
no
get
comment.
emails, but we get emails to our main email, which is the info at themodrom.com, more than we get to that one. So I would say it's not working.
But we bring it up often enough to say it is a legitimate email.
Oh yeah.
It is connected to us, and we can't say that enough. Like we jokingly use it, but there is a legitimate email. Please sponsor us. We love you at themodrom.com.
Mhm.
So cool. Please sponsor
Yeah,
us.
you can. Yeah, you can email us there just to say hi.
Yes, I will.
we will answer. We will
I'll
answer.
Oh
Um.
my goodness.
So tell
Any
us.
questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
Tell us about your documentary.
Oh gosh. This fella approached me, Jim Burns, and he did a documentary on Van Heusen, who was Frank Sinatra's very close friend and wrote a lot of his songs. He won a lot of awards for his songs. And his documentary did very well. It was on PBS and everything. And he said, you've done a nice body of work that, I would like to make a piece. So far we have Cardinal Dolan speaking in it, talking about how much he likes the sculptures. We have the mayor of Hoboken talking about Frank Sinatra. We have the mayor of Lucille Ball's hometown. We have Stuart Weitzman. He's in
Oh,
there talking.
great.
And we also have um, Ann Huntington, who is the president of Huntington Learning Centers, and she sits on a lot of different art boards and museums and things like that. And she really enjoys my work, so she's a star in it. She's amazing. She's just like, she's an incredible woman. So, and it has all my work, and it talks about my life and that fellow Tom Greenwood, who I went to him, please, Tom, please. In fact, I had to make a little sculpture just to recreate the story, and it's sitting over there. It's a little head of Thomas Jefferson that I went to him for. But so yeah, so that's it. So it goes all around and shows the art, the Presidential Library with the blind friend touching the sculptures, and it's a sweet. So he's gonna promote it, but I'll.
That sounds
So.
incredible. I want to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send you the link. I don't know where he's gonna have it, but yeah. Oh, I gotta get Dick Wolf in it. I gotta contact him.
Yeah,
Make
you
sure.
do.
Yes.
Yeah, you
I
do.
wanted I wanted to deliver his sculpture to him, but it's a very heavy sculpture. But I'm gonna end up mailing it. But I hear he's making a special alcove. I sent him photos of it, and he loves it. So I'm very happy about that. From Law and Order.
I imagine shipping such a thing is quite a process.
Yes, 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 yes. And you want to make sure. I mean, with bronze, you can't really dent unless you really just drop it like off a building,
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you put it like in a crate, or I guess it depends on the size, huh?
yeah. I'll call a company, a professional company. I already worked that in the price. I told them that was,
Yeah,
extra.
of course. I made a pair of giant wings once that um, they were for well, it's a recycled design. I used to do a lot of recycled pieces where I would take and make like a dress out of paper or out of plastic or out of things that aren't normally, it's not fabric, unconventional.
Nice.
And yeah, it was fun. And I'd show it at different pieces in different places and attempt to win awards and things like that. It was mostly to bring awareness to the paper waste in some industries because
Oh, nice.
and
Yeah.
plastic waste, because all the plastic I ever used for pieces like that were from the fashion industry, because fashion is extremely wasteful. And
What a great idea.
yeah, it was fun. But these
Yeah.
wings I made were from garment bags from the fashion industry, and they were gigantic, like 12-foot wings. And
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I had
Yeah.
yeah, they were huge, and they would fold down. Like I had them, you could actually pull these cables, and they would open.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was fun,
That
and
is fun. Really.
it was fun to wear them around on Halloween. The one time I did it.
You you wore it on Halloween?
Yeah, I walked around my neighborhood at the time, and I I had like a black cape on too, so I put the hood up.
I love it.
And I walked up behind people, and I'd pull the cords, and the wings would open. So they start 4 feet wide, and then when I pull the cords, they'd be 12 feet wide. And there was a guy who was like, he must have gotten home from the grocery store or something, and he had groceries in the trunk of his car, and he was leaning over, like pulling the groceries out of the trunk. And I walked up behind him, and I like opened the wings, and he just and I felt bad. But like I just kept going. I couldn't say anything because it felt out of character.
Oh my. Oh my gosh. Where are those wings today?
They're in the closet here. I have them
Oh,
still.
you have them there. So you said, yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of bands showed interest for music videos because I've done costuming for music videos too. And no one wants to pay the shipping on these wings. So the only ones I've done were ones I could hand deliver. But yeah, the shipping part was what I was thinking, because that was the challenge with the wings.
Yeah. 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 Josh. Oh.
Toaster coupon. Okay. Cause we'll get to that at the end here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Nice.
Real quick, I do have one question about, I guess, like inspiration.
Yeah.
What about what you do makes you go, yes, this is why I do what I do?
You know, it's the reactions of people. Being a fly on the wall and going and watching the responses and people enjoying, the work. So that is really why I say yes when I see that, because you feel like you're giving something, and you feel like you're bringing joy or whatever emotions. Art, it stirs up emotions in people, and so it's a way of yeah, it's a way of giving.
Yeah. That's relatable.
My question before we wrap here is, I'm sure that there's someone sitting at home who has a mold of clay in their hands and they're wanting to get inspired. What piece of advice do you have for them?
Oh my gosh, I would say if they want to do a person, to think of a person that they would like to bring into their field, somebody that they really enjoy or they're inspired by. And then actually, you can go online there's a lot of great online videos that will show you even how to get started with the head, and how to measure, where the eyes and the nose are and everything, and just go to town. Just teach yourself that. And it's more about I think it's more about the joy and feeling like you can do it, just having confidence. Don't lose faith, even if you have a piece in your I had a friend once who I was trying to teach a little bit about it, and I remember when he came to me, I'm thinking, uh-oh, but I kept saying, if you look at this and look at this, and all of a sudden he started doing these beautiful pieces. So you need someone to encourage you. If it's not yourself, find a good friend who will believe in you. You can do it.
Emily, I encourage you. You can do anything you set your mind to.
Thank you. I actually do believe that. It took me a while to get there, but I do believe that. In fact, I came up with based on what Carolyn just said, I came up with who I would sculpt.
Who? Okay. All right. Who?
Queen Elizabeth I.
Oh. Okay.
Wow. And
Why?
why?
Well, you said, it's somebody who speaks to me as far as their bravery and their vision, and I don't know. I've always really looked up to her in history, and like she's the one person I always say, who would you have lunch with if you could have lunch with anybody? Like I want to sit down and pick her brain. So yeah, I would sculpt her.
What would you pick her brain about? I'm just curious. I want to have a talk show now. This is fun.
Isn't that great? Yeah, you should. You should.
Give up sculpting and just, what do you know? But seriously, what about her?
Well, she ruled England at a time when she was a woman who was I mean, they didn't necessarily want women ruling, and she fought her advisors on things regarding how the church should be run and how the country should be run. They wanted to go to war, and she would say no. They wanted, I mean, things like that. She was, and she would remind herself, like, I'm my father's daughter. And she looked up to her father and saw how he ruled and kind of was like, I'm going to do this without fear. She paved her own path in a world of men that thought differently. And so she was a very strong woman, and that is why.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good, very, very good.
Yeah. So, yep, that's it. That's my skull. I need to like look a lot closer at what she looked like because I don't really, but that's who I would. But I think it would be cool because I could also, I love the fashion from that time too, like that kind of Elizabethan fashion. So I would sculpt the whole thing, like the dress and the details and the little.
I think you should do that.
Do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
I'm inspired. See,
I'll try.
when you have 4.
I'll send you updates then. You can keep me accountable.
Gwen, if you're listening, we now have this recorded. Carolyn, I just have to say thank you so much for being on tonight. This was a true pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a true pleasure being with you. You're so comfortable to be with.
Oh,
I'm
yay.
I was saying, oh my gosh, running around, but you are. You both have a gift, a wonderful gift of making someone like me feel comfortable, because normally I'm a nervous wreck. Not a nervous wreck, but sometimes I'm like, oh. But thank you for your questions and your presence. It's usually the presence of what people give to you, and it's in the silence that you feel it. You know that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Thank you to the both of you.
Thank you. That is so nice to hear. We appreciate you having you here, and we could not tell if you were nervous at all. You seemed comfortable, so that makes us comfortable too.
I was comfortable with you. I'm saying usually not comfortable. Sometimes I have to talk on different interviews, and sometimes I'm not. But I was very comfortable with you, so thank you. And again, your show is amazing. I mean, I saw some of the shows that you have had, and it's a really cool, podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna smile the rest of the day now.
Oh my gosh. So for everyone at home, just so that you can keep up to date with Carolyn, you can visit her website at palmersculptures.com. You can also follow her on Facebook and on Instagram. On Instagram, she is Carolyn Palmer Sculptures. And on Facebook, I just want to make sure I've got this right. How does it appear on Facebook?
Carolyn Palmer Sculptures. Carolyn Palmer. God, I'm hardly on there lately. Carolyn D. Palmer Sculptures.
Carolyn D. Palmer Sculpture.
Carolyn D. Palmer Sculpture Artist.
That's correct. Yeah.
Carolyn D. Palmer Sculpture Artist.
Please go commission her to create another incredible lifelike sculpture. Please, somebody out there has got to be an arts foundation that is dying to have a sculpture. So please, 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 please get Carolyn.
Support artists. Yeah.
Tina Turner. I had somebody contact me about Tina Turner, who passed away, but it's just in the beginning stages. Somebody just has been calling and saying, "You got to do Tina Turner."
You do. That's actually.
She's
yeah. An icon sculpting an icon.
No. Thank you, guys.
As we close out the episode here, this episode, along with every other episode, will be in memory of Joe Capone, our moderator, fellow comedian, passionate encourager, and greatly missed friend. You can find us pretty much wherever you tune into podcasts. For updates, announcements, and more, please follow us on social media under Modern Romantic and help us reach our subscriber goals. Thank you, everybody, and have a I can't think of a good word, so I'm just going to say have a marvelous day.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank
Real
you,
quick,
everybody.
before I'm sorry, I interrupted. Before we say goodbye, Kaz
Oh,
redeemed
yes.
the Capones thing. We'll have to tell you that story, Carolyn.
What is that?
We are one of the guy Joe Capone was our the guy Joe Capone. That is so poorly worded. There was this guy Joe Capone who was our friend who helped us get the podcast started, and he passed away about a year ago. And so we dedicate every episode to him. And one of the things that our audience can do is propose a toast, and so she did that. And so we.
That's so nice. Very, very nice.
Yeah. So I
Aw.
have root beer today. So.
Great. Aw. Very nice.
Okay. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.